We're going to be going over how to read defenses pre-snap, and this is arguably the most important section in the course. So I would pay close attention to this section. You know, each section is important, but this is probably the most common question I get is how to read defenses pre-snap. So definitely a really important aspect of the game, because if you can read the defense, if you know what the defense is pre-snap, you know, you can call a play specific for that defense and you can beat them pre-snap with your play calls. Usually at a higher level, they do a really good job of disguising their coverage pre-snap, so everything's a post-snap read. But if they do happen to show what they're doing pre-snap with their coverage, you know, huge advantage to the offense, because you can key in with your play calling on what to call, because you already know kind of what coverage you're in. So let's go into more detail. So first things first, when it comes to reading defenses, is you want to be able to tell the difference between man and zone. So when it's man press, there's going to be a cornerback just like here, line up directly over each receiver, and then you're going to again have the linebacker man up over the tight end, as you see here on the right. And again, you got the corners lined up over each receiver, right over each receiver. Whereas if it's zone, usually you're gonna have I didn't mean to touch this guy, but you're not gonna have, again, you have like a linebacker lined up over you know, the receiver. There's usually gonna be some space here. They're not gonna be lined up directly over each receiver, and you'll kind of have an overload over here. Whereas, you know, if it's a man coverage, you know, sometimes the outside cornerback is in really tight. He'll be like right here, but again, really the tell here is you got to ask yourself, are the cornerbacks lined up, each cornerback lined up directly over the receiver? And the answer here is no, so it is zone. Now, if we want to read more, if we want to get into more specifics, you know, whether you want to know whether it's cover 2 zone, cover 3, cover 4 pre-snap, then we want to kind of look more towards the safety. And again, this is what I mean here too. So again, if you remember, or if you want to rewind, so when we were in man coverage, again, the slot cornerback was lined up directly over Y. Again, here there's a little bit of space here. He's kind of lined up a little bit to the right. You know, if you bring this guy directly down, you know, he's not going to line up directly with, you know, the Y receiver. You know, whereas before, when we were in man coverage, he was lined up directly over the guy. And now for the more specifics, again, when you're determining between cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, you want to look at the safeties really, and even the next tell will be the outside corners. But when you see two high safeties, it's either going to be, it can either be cover 2 or cover 4. Whereas if they have a lone side or a single high safety, it's going to be a cover 1 or a cover 3. So let me go back to, well, let me show you guys why, you know, if they have only a single high safety, why it wouldn't make sense for it to be, you know, something like a cover 2. So, you know, if we look at cover 2 here, again, we'll get into this later in the video, but again, it wouldn't really make sense to run cover 2 like this with a single high safety, because then we run the risk of getting deep over the top. So generally, when we run cover 2, the deep blue is going to be backed off, because again, cover 2 is already weak deep, and if you have one of these deep blues down in the box, you know, you're just asking to get beat over the top. So that's why when it's cover 2, you're going to see two high safeties. And again, this is a really basic introduction. Now there are cases where, you know, you can keep the two high safeties and it can be cover 2, cover 3, cover 4 pre-snap. But now that's when you're playing at a really high level, and we'll get into that in later courses. But you know, if you're just starting out playing at it and you're not playing, you know, at the highest levels, usually people are gonna show their defense pre-snap. They're gonna kind of tell you whether it's cover 2 or cover 3. They're not gonna really disguise it. Whereas if you're playing at a higher level, it's gonna be hard to tell the difference pre-snap, and everything's gonna be post-snap, which we'll get to in this next section. But we'll run the play here. But again, biggest thing to remember though is, for introductory purposes, is if you see 2 high safeties, it's either cover 2 or cover 4. Again, you see cover 2, and you know, let me go to cover 3, and again, you're going to see the single high safety. So just a few things to memorize here. And again, if you want to tell the difference between man and zone, again, you can tell that it's zone here because we have our linebacker matchup over the receiver, and we have our linebacker matchup over the receiver, and we have our outside corner kind of backed off far here. Whereas again, if it's man coverage, they're going to be lined up directly over the guy. But again, biggest takeaway is remember this. Again, I'm going to hammer this and repeat this. Single high safety, it's either cover 1 or cover 3. Let me show you guys a cover 1 look. And if it's 2 high safeties, it's either cover 2 or cover 4. And again, that's for, in most cases, again, if you're playing a high level player, you know, they can disguise the look. Again, here's cover 1 hole, and again, you can tell this is cover 1 hole or cover 1 man, because again, look, you have, and remember when it's man coverage, again, the cornerbacks are lined up right over the receivers. You have it's cornerback over the receivers, whereas before, when it was zone, we had like linebackers matched up over the receivers. So that's a huge tell there, and we can tell it's, again, cover 1 because we see that there's only a single high safety here. So we know that it can be, when we see the single high safety, we know that it's either cover 1 and cover 3. And then we can limit it down even more. We can limit it down to cover 1 because we see a cornerback lined up directly over each receiver. So we know it's man coverage.
If you appreciate our content and all the work we do to bring you guys the latest news, tips, and gameplay from your favorite sports games, drop a like, subscribe to SGO today. You want to take your game to the next level? Then join SGO Insider.